In the heart of Lagos, where children grew faster than their shoes and the landlords collect rent with lion faces, lived a young woman whose beauty did not compete with her kindness. Her name was Tolani, but everyone called her Tola, the Cornseller. The air smelt of smoke and sweat. It was one of those hot afternoons when even the sun seemed angry. Tola wiped her face with the edge of her faded wrapper, flipping the hot roasted corn on the iron rack. Her fingers moved quickly, expertly, turning the cobs while her eyes scanned the street. Then came him, a tired-looking man, not very old, walked slowly into the street. His feet were dusty and his shirt was badly tattered, like he had been in a fight. His beard was rough and messy, though his skin looked neat and fresh. His appearance said something else, but the most powerful thing was his eyes. They looked like they had seen many things, and even silence could feel his pain. People stopped and stared. Who be this one? One mechanic whispered, "Another madman don't enter street oh." A market woman shouted. Children pointed and laughed. A teenage boy threw a sachet of water at him. But Tola's eyes lingered. Something about the man pulled at the strings of her soul. He walked to her kiosk and stood quietly, staring at the corn like it held the key to his hunger. "Baba, you want corn?" she asked gently, reaching for one even before he answered. The man opened his mouth, but words failed him. His lips trembled like an old radio trying to catch signal. Tola handed him 2 hot corn and a sachet of water. He collected it with both hands like it was treasure. He sat quietly by the gutter, eating with humility. No pride, no shame, just silence and gratitude. That was the day tongues began to wag. The next morning, Tola woke up to find a crowd gathered around her kiosk. Some came to buy, others came to gossip. Mama Sade, with her loud rapper and louder voice, led the charge. Tola, Tola, Cornseller, turned humanitarian. Since when did we start feeding beggars like kings, eh? Laughter followed. Even Wale, the local mechanic who had been eyeing Tola for years, joined in. Make she no go fall for madman, no. Now so them they start. But Tola smiled and wiped her roasting tray. You don't need to have plenty before you show kindness. One day, even your shadow may need help. The dusty stranger returned every evening, and every evening, Tola gave him food without asking for a kobo. He never said much, just a soft thank you and a slight bow. She noticed he often stared into the distance, like someone waiting for a ship that never came. She gave him a nickname, Babatunde. One day, heavy rain fell like the sky had lost its temper. The wind blew roofs, gutters overflowed, and the streets turned into rivers. Tola was about to close up when she saw Babatunde drenched to the bone, trembling under a mango tree. Without thinking twice, she removed her umbrella, grabbed a dry wrapper, and ran to him. Come inside. Stay behind my kiosk. The rain won't reach you here. He looked at her like she had just handed him the world. She dried his clothes, gave him hot pap, and let him rest on the mat behind her stall. Her grandmother warned her, but she shook her head. Mama, even if he's mad, na human being now. Hunger no dey respect sanity o. So that night, while he slept, she saw something poking out of his bag. A leather wallet with a gold crest and initials, AA. She paused, frowned, but said nothing. Who carries such a wallet in rags? As days turned into weeks, people became bolder. One customer threw insults at Tola. You fit fine, old Tola, but your sense no fine at all. Now this old mad beggar you dey pet like husband. Shame no dey catch you. Another spat on the ground near Babatunde and said, he go soon attack you one day. Maybe he's one of all those secret investigators in disguise sef. Don't say we no warn you. Tola began to question herself. The words the neighbor said was gradually getting into her. But every time she saw his eyes, something in her heart said, this man is just an old man in need. Unknown to her, someone was watching. A man in black SUV parked down the street every evening. Sometimes he wore shades, sometimes not. But his eyes always followed Tola. He would look at Babatunde, then make calls. The slum of of Ajegule never really sleeps. By day, it is noisy like a crowded market. By night, it hums like a broken generator. But behind Tola's kiosk, under the cover of tarpaulin and zinc, peace found a corner. The dusty stranger now slept there every night. He never asked, but Tola insisted. If the street could speak, they would beg me to give you shelter. She told him once with a soft smile. She laid him a mat, sometimes added a small pillow. On very cold nights, she gave him a second wrapper. One evening, as she sat beside him peeling roasted groundnuts, she asked, Baba, who were you before life threw you into the storm? The man was quiet for so long, Tola thought he didn't hear. Then in a voice rough like gravel, he said, I was someone until I became no one. She looked at him. But you still have dignity. It's sitting in your eyes. He smiled faintly, then looked away. Tola didn't press further. Some stories are like wounds. You don't touch them unless you are ready to bleed. Tola's life wasn't a fairy tale. Every day, she rose before the sun and fetched water. She roasted corn and sold cold drinks. On low days, she barely made 2,000 naira. Her grandmother, Mama Ireti, was aging fast. Arthritis had tied her knees in knots. They couldn't afford hospital bills. Yet, Tola never complained. She smiled even when her belly was empty. Joy is not rice and stew. She once told her friend, sometimes it's just knowing you did no wrong to anyone today. But her kindness began to cost her. Wale the mechanic grew angrier. So all my chasing, all my recharge cards and gala, she just threw him away for a roadside madman. He accused her of sleeping with the stranger. Mama Shade joined in. Soon whispers became shouts. One afternoon, a customer refused to buy from her. I know the chop corn from mad woman hand. Tola went home that day and cried like a baby. She didn't cry because they insulted her. She cried because she was tired. Kindness shouldn't feel like punishment. Babatunde heard her sobbing that night. He sat outside the kiosk, hands shaking. The next morning, he swept the front of her stall with a small broom. It was crooked, but it was something. Thank you, he said, for treating me like a man when the world calls me mad. That same morning, the black SUV returned. This time, the window rolled down. A young man in his 30s stared across the street. He wore a simple t-shirt, but his watch alone could pay 2 years' rent in Ajegule. Beside him sat a driver in native Agbada, holding a tablet. That's her, Funsho said. She's the one, isn't she? The driver nodded. Yes, sir. The girl who gives him food every day, even let him sleep behind her kiosk, despite all the insults. Funsho sighed. Why does she keep persisting in helping him? Let's go, he said, and they drove off. That night, Tola's stomach growled like a wounded lion. She had just 500 naira left, barely enough to make a simple meal. But she used it anyway. She cooked a small pot of white rice and stew with the little pepper, oil and dry fish she had left. Grandma, she whispered to her frail grandmother, Mama Ireti, let's eat together. God will provide tomorrow. Just as she was about to eat her share, Babatunde passed by slowly, holding his stomach as if it held a secret war. She looked at the food, then at him. Baba, you never chop. Babatunde shook his head gently. Take my own portion. I'm fine. I ate roasted corn earlier. She said, no, my daughter, you need it more. Babatunde replied, eat, I will manage. She smiled. Though her stomach protested, he collected the plates like a man offered gold. He ate with quiet gratitude. That night, he slept beside her kiosk again. Under her spare wrapper, his heart warmed despite a cold. The next morning, a well-dressed young man stepped out of a black SUV, dark-skinned, tall, clean-shaven. He bought roasted corn from Tola. How much? He asked with a warm smile. Just 100 naira, sir. Okay, give me 2 and keep the change. He smiled again, like he had seen her somewhere before. As he turned, he spotted Babatunde. Then he paused, reached into his pocket and handed the old man a bundle of 1,000 naira notes, folded neatly. Take, this is for you, Baba. The old man nodded softly, and the two locked eyes silently. That night, Babatunde gave the entire money to Tola. Buy rice, pepper, onions, seasoning and chicken. Baba said, "Ah, no, Baba, I can't. It's your money." Tola refused. "I want rice and chicken stew tonight. If you no cook am, I go vex." So he teased. Tola laughed. She cooked like never before that night. The smell of seasoned stew danced through the slum and made even passerby drool. But then trouble came like a thief. That night, while Tola was fetching water from the public tap, someone set fire to her kiosk. Plastic bottles melted. The zinc roof collapsed. Her roasting rack became charcoal. The smell of kerosene filled the air. Babatunde tried to stop it. He threw sand, screamed, but no one helped. By the time Tola returned, her small business was gone. She collapsed to the ground, wailing, "God, what did I do to deserve this? Even when I had nothing, I still gave. Why do I keep losing?" People watched from their windows, whispering, "What kind of mystery is this? Maybe is this weird old beggar's bad luck?" Someone said. Only Babatunde stood beside her, face covered in salt, eyes burning, not from the smoke but from sorrow. He touched her shoulder and said, "Don't worry, my daughter. Sometimes before life blesses a person, it breaks them." So the next day, before night came, Babatunde vanished. Tola returned that evening and found his wrapper neatly folded. No sign, no trace. Gossip flew like birds. Maybe he don't do in private investigator work finish and run. He's a ritualist now, some said. "I took her before. She don't waste her food on a ghost." Another said. Fola cried that night silently. She missed his silent presence, his quiet strength. She had already looked for him everywhere, asked people in the neighborhood, but nobody seems to know where he was. Then she concluded that maybe the rumors were already getting to him, and that could be why he left so suddenly. She only hoped that wherever he was, he'd be safe. "God, please keep this old man safe," she said while folding her two hands in prayer. That evening, while Tola was packing her unsold corn, the black SUV returned. This time, it didn't stop at a distance. It pulled up right in front of her. Funsho stepped out. Same clean look, same confidence and gentle smile on his face. His voice was calm like cold water. "Good evening, Tolani." She nodded weary. "You again?" He chuckled. "Yes, me again. Please, where's the old man from the other day? Why do you ask about him? Why do you keep coming here?" Funsho looked a little surprised but not scared. "Well, I'm here for the old man because he matters to me, just like he matters to you." She folded her arms. "You talk like you know him well." "Maybe I do, maybe I don't." He took a small step closer. "Or maybe because I want you." Tolani blinked, unsure of what to say. "I have been watching you, Tola. Not in a bad way, I promise. I've seen how you treat someone the world has forgotten. With care, respect and kindness." He paused, then added, "That is rare." She looked at him, a little softer now. Tolani said quietly, "But people say I'm foolish though." Funsho smiling. "Sometimes foolishness is wisdom wearing torn clothes." She smiled just a little. Funsho gently said, "Would you be free this Saturday? There's someone who wants to see you." Tola, raising an eyebrow, "Who?" He turned, opened the car door and said, "You will find out." Then he got in the car. As the door closes, he said, "My driver will come for you." Tola stood there, watching the SUV until it disappeared. Her hands were still, but her heart, it was asking 100 questions. Saturday came faster than Tola expected. A small car, different from the SUV, picked her from her home early that morning. She wore her best iro and buba, borrowed earrings from Mama Shade's daughter. Yes, even gossips can be helpful sometimes, and her slippers sparkled with borrowed dignity. The car arrived promptly at noon. She kissed her grandmother goodbye, her heart pounding like battered drum. "Be careful, Tolani," her grandmother said. "Whatever you find there, hold your head up." "Yes, Mama," she whispered, her throat tight. They drove past areas she had only seen on TV. Banana Island, Victoria Island. Her mouth remained open. Finally, the car pulled into a quiet compound with flowers that looked like they were being paid salary. She was taken to a large room. Inside, the house was filled with finely dressed men and women. Conversations flowed like wine, but one man stood out, seated at the head of a long mahogany table, dressed in regal white, a simple cap on his graying head. It was Babatunde, but this time he wasn't in rags. He wore white lace, his skin was clean, his beard neatly shaved. He sat like someone used to being respected. Tolani gasped. Baba? He smiled. It's me, my daughter Tolani. Come. Tola froze at the entrance. Funsho appeared beside her, his hand gentle on her back. Come, he's been waiting. All eyes turned as she entered. Some people blinked in disbelief. A girl in plain native wear, no makeup, no gel, no polished accent. But Babatunde, Chief Ademola, rose slowly and smiled and stretched his hands. My name is Chief Ademola Ajayi. I am not mad. I am not poor. I only needed to test the heart of people in hard places. But why? Tola asked, trembling. My daughter, I've built empires. I have estates across states. But my son, Funsho here, needed a woman whose heart wasn't bought with luxury. You gave when you had nothing. You fed me with your last. You protected me when others mocked me. Tola turned to Funsho. Her eyes widened. You? You are his son? How could you possibly let your father go through all of that? Funsho smiled. It wasn't my intention for all of this to happen, believe me. I tried to talk him out of it, but he refused. But now I see why. This mission has indeed been accomplished. I saw everything, Tolani. How you treated my father like royalty in rags. How everyone mocked and abused you for your kind heart. Yet, you were still unshaken. Then I knew, if you could love him without knowing who he was, you could love me for who I truly am. Tola broke into tears. The room went silent. Not even the ceiling fan dared to creak. Babatunde, now Chief Ademola, motioned for her to come forward. She walked slowly, heart in her throat. I came to Ajegule not because I lost my mind, but because I was looking for someone who hadn't lost their heart. Gasps echoed. I disguised myself because I wanted truth, not pretense, not performance, just real kindness. And you, Tola, gave me that. You shared your food, your money, your time, and your heart without expecting anything in return. He turned to the room, voice now firm. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the kind of woman my son should marry. A woman whose value isn't tied to makeup or money, but character. The hall broke into stunned applause. Tola's legs nearly gave way. She couldn't hold back the tears. They rolled down her cheeks like rain on a tired rooftop. I don't understand, she whispered. I was just trying to help. Funsho stepped forward, and that's why you are the one. Outside in the garden, as the party continued inside, Tola and Funsho stood in silence. The night was cool. The stars blinked like they too wanted to witness this chapter. This is too much, she finally said. I feel like someone will wake me up and I'll be back frying corn tomorrow morning. Funsho turned to her, smiling softly. I hope you do wake up. Because this, you and me, I want it to be real. Not a dream. She looked away, trying not to cry again. But I don't have anything, Funsho. I don't even own that chaos. What am I bringing into this? You are bringing the very thing we've all lost in this world. Honesty, humility, and a good heart. And if you will let me, I would like to bring you into mine. She turned slowly, her eyes wide. Are you? He took her hand. Tolani, will you allow me to cut you properly in the presence of my father and your God? She laughed through her tears. You and your big English. Why not just say, be my girlfriend? He grinned. Okay, will you be my girlfriend? She smiled. Yes, but only if you promise to still eat roasted corn with pepper every Saturday, even in Banana Island. They both laughed and hugged each other. Back in Ajegule, the news spread like fire in dry bush. Tola, the same Tola that used to wear one wrapper every week. So Babatunde na billionaire. Jesu. Mama Shade couldn't believe it. She sat on her bench, her mouth open for hours. For once, she had no gossip to add because the story was bigger than her words. And Tola, she didn't change overnight. She still checked on her neighbors, still greeted elders. Ajegule shook that day. A once dirty old man was now escorted by guards. Tola, the roasted corn girl, was driven away in a white Benz. Her grandmother wept, but this time for joy. A new building soon rose where her chaos once stood. It was called Tola's Harvest. It had a food court, a mini clinic, and a free training space for young girls in the community who had zeal to become independent and industrious in order to help reduce poverty and crime in the community. When asked how she did it, Tola would smile and say, kindness is like water. It finds its level. If without expectation, life always remembers. Show kindness, so kindness will come back to you in return. Hey buddies, thank you all for watching. Please show some kindness today by subscribing to this channel if you haven't done that by now. It's free. Hit on that notification bell to get updates on this channel. Like, comment what you've learned from this story, and don't forget to share. Until next time, do enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.